Hello, this is our tutorial on graphing directional words, and this is actually an example of the assignment that we're going to do in Cami called Above and Below Sea Level. It's a two-page assignment. The first page is you're actually graphing on a y-axis. The things that I'm going to highlight are noted up here in yellow. It tells you what to draw and where to draw it. Okay, and then there's a second page that will ask you questions, and there are 11 of them, about, the distance, how many meters, how much farther, which is the furthest of the different objects that you put on the graph based upon the depth or the altitude numbers that's listed in meters on this side, on the right-hand side. Now, since this is a Cami assignment, instead of actually showing you some examples or getting you started on it here, which is Smart Notebook, I'm going to show you how to do it inside Cami for those of you that are still having a little bit of trouble navigating to Cami. So I'm going to minimize this screen. Okay, now that I've minimized the Smart Notebook file, I've brought up in my Google browser, my Google Classroom, and I'm just going to show the example from my Algebra 1 class, although if you're in my Geometry or Math Models class, it's an assignment for you as well. And all my Google Classrooms are organized the same way, so y'all would do the same thing. You would start at the stream, and then you would go to the classwork section. And then this has not yet been assigned, but next week is going to be week 2, which is probably when we'll be working on this. So you will look under week 2, and I put the assignment in there. Notice it doesn't have a date or a class number. Like under week 1, you see the dates and you see 2nd period, 7th period. That's because this isn't assigned yet. This is just to show you how you might navigate to it in the Google Classroom through Cami. But when I do assignment, there will be a date and there will be a 2nd period or a 7th period, so that depending upon which class you're in, you know which one to open up. Then you would click on it to open it, and there's a little description. And notice it says that it demonstrates how to graph directional words on a y-axis, and that you need to open it, complete it, and turn it in using the Cami app extension. The directions for doing that are the second file on the right called Cami and Google Classroom. If you open that, it gives you step-by-step directions for how to open and use Cami. But if for some reason you can't do it with Cami, you can either download the file and print it out a paper version, complete it, take a picture, and just email it back to me. If you can't do that, then you can just create your own sketch of the graph, complete it, answer all the questions, take a picture, email it to me. Now, the actual assignment is the document on the left that says for complete practice, and then it would be the rest of it. So I'm just going to open that up. And since I have Cami, the app extension, loaded on my Google Chrome browser, I have 2 ways that I can do it. I'm going to get it back. I can either choose the blue open with Cami rectangle, or I can come over here where it says open with at the top in the middle and select annotate with Cami. Either way will work. And now it opens up in Cami. So now you can scroll up and scroll down, and you can actually annotate the assignment. I'm going to use the drawing tool, which is over here on the left. It's actually called the markup tool, which is that one. And you've got this box highlighter, which I don't want to use, or you've got the text highlighter, which, you know what, I'm not even going to use this one. I'm going to come down here and use the drawing tool. That's actually a better choice. You can select your colors if you want, and you can select how thick it is. So like if I want to make it a little bit thicker of a line, and if I want to pick a different color, I can say pick a color blue, and then I can come down here, select the black, and then select the color that you want, and now it's going to be drawing on it in the color that you want. Okay, the first thing says draw a wavy line for sea level. Okay, well, sea level is already on there, but that would be at the 0. So if I want to draw a wavy line across it to indicate that this is where the water is, I can just draw a wavy line across it to indicate that's where the water is. And sea level would be at 0 meters. So I'm going to mark that off. That part's done. Then it says to draw a bird at plus 10 meters. And the reason why it's at plus 10 because the bird is flying up in the air. So I'm going to change it to a slightly different color. I'm going to try to do a black bird. So I'm going to go in here and get more colors, or maybe a brown bird. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to select my blue, and now select my brown. And 10 meters is just above the 0, and I could put it anywhere on that dashed line I want. And I draw birds kind of like a wavy W. So there's another one. Now I'm going to try to get that a little bit better. You can always use your eraser tool. I'm going to see if going into tablet mode makes me to draw, because it usually does. So there's a bird, or if you wanted to put one right there, oh, there's a little better bird. So that's the one I'm going to use right there. I'm going to erase this one. All right, so now I've done the second one. Then it says, I'm just going to do the third one, and I'm going to stop and do like one more. It says a cliff at a height of 80 meters. Now you can draw the cliff anywhere you want, but people tend to want to put it right over there by the 80, and that can sometimes be a problem because people tend to like crowd the whole picture right by the numbers, but that's why the lines are all the way across. So if you want to put the cliff over here, like, okay, here's, and then it comes down. Because as long as it goes up to the 80-meter mark, which it does, you can see it goes up to the 80-meter mark, it's all nice right there, then that cliff is at 80 meters. So I'm going to just erase this part, and we've done the cliff. Now I'm going to look at some stuff that might be lower. So the first thing I see is it says a whale at negative 50 meters. Okay, so I'm going to draw a whale. And for that one, I guess I'm going to draw maybe using sort of this lighter green, or maybe the lighter peachy color. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to come down and it says the whale is at negative 50 meters, which is pretty low because it's, it's a whale, so it's going to be swimming down under the water, and under the water is a negative. Now I draw my fish and all my fish the same way. It's kind of like a sideways number 8, and then I just turn one end of it into a tail, and then I put an eye. And I tried to make it kind of big because it's a whale. Yeah, I know it's not a great whale, but that's the way I draw mine. And if you want to do something like that to indicate it's got a blowhole, you could do that to indicate it's got a blowhole. But that's the basics of drawing these things. And yeah, I got it. I'm going to select this one, the select tool, and see if it'll let me like pull it down a little bit. And it did. Okay, to try to get it more like right on the 50. So that's the basics of the drawing of it. And then I also did this one, the whale at the 50. If we want to keep going and look at the bottom part of it, it will say like how many meters from the cliff to the shipwreck. Okay, well, you would have to get the shipwreck in there, but as an example, let's say the shipwreck is right here. Here's my ship. I don't know that that's where it is, but let's say it's there, and I'm trying to put it on this line right here, which would be the negative 40. Well, we know that the cliff is up at the positive 80, and if you look at these lines, they'll go by tens. So you would go like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 to get to sea level, 90, 100, 110, 120. So then that's 120, and if that's where it was, you would put 120 right here. However, and I think it's in feet. No, it's in meters. So M. However, I'm going to go ahead and erase that because I don't know for sure that that's where the shipwreck is. I didn't bother to look up there. That is just an example of one way that you could do it. Another way that you could figure that out is to realize when it says something like, when it says down here, how many meters from the cliff to the shipwreck, instead of counting them, you're looking at the difference between where this number is and where that number is. So the difference between 80 and negative 40. And difference is a subtraction. So you do 80 minus negative 40. And if you remember from our lesson on subtracting integers, whenever you have the minus and the negative right next to each other, you can change that to addition. And so then you just get 80 plus 40, and that gives you 120 again. So that's another way that you can do it if you don't want to be counting grid lines. But this is just an example. I'm going to mark that off because I don't know that that's there, of how to do this graphing. Once you're finished with it, make sure that you put your name up at the top, use the drawing tool, and the date and the period, and then turn it in. The way that you turn it in is to use what looks like the little save icon, and then that will turn it back into me.